Hello and welcome to the Between the Lines podcast. My name is Janine. I'm a library clerk at the South Central Regional Library, Winkler Branch.
And I'm Jess. I'm the branch administrator of the Winkler Library.
This is a podcast where we discuss books.
The things we love, the things we hate, the things that drove us crazy. What we do is read the first half of the book. We discuss the front cover, because we all judge books by their covers, our impressions of the first half of the book, and then for the second part, we can discuss our final impressions. We thought that this would be an interesting way of doing a podcast because my impressions of the book halfway through and my impressions of the book at the end are always quite different. Sometimes it's relief at being done, sometimes it's a shame that the book is over. So with that, here is this week's book.
Today's book that we've picked is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. First published in 1843, A Christmas Carol is arguably Dickens' most popular and accessible work. An instant success ever since its original publication, it is the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, a cold, bitter old miser who despises Christmas and everything about it. When the ghost of Scrooge's former business partner, Jacob Marley, visits him on Christmas Eve, exactly 7 years after his death, Scrooge is challenged to rethink his ways before it is too late. Over the course of the evening, he is visited by 3 more spirits, the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. These visits help Scrooge to see the error in his ways, transforming him by the end of the story into a kinder and gentler soul. Inspired by his experiences as a child, Dickens' A Christmas Carol highlights the plight of the lower class in 19th century England through an enduring and ultimately heartwarming tale. So, initial thoughts.
Going through that summary, my first question is, how many ghosts did Dickens see as a child?
Good point.
What was he doing?
Yeah, that is true.
I'm assuming it's more in reference to the class.
The class, yes.
And, the plight that they dealt with.
Yes.
Rather than actually seeing ghosts.
Although you never know.
That would be rather hilarious.
So one thing we should mention is that this is going to be a page-to-screen discussion. So we have read the first half of the book, and then we'll read the second half and watch the Jim Carrey version of the movie. And then we'll discuss the movie and the book in the next part.
Yes. There's a lot of different versions of Christmas Carol, but I don't know. I'm partial to Jim Carrey and Christmas. Because the Grinch is amazing.
Because of the Grinch?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you've got to pick one. Couldn't do them all.
Yep.
So, yeah, what do you think, Janine?
Well, so first of all, I tried to read this book several years ago, and I didn't even get through the first chapter and was like, nope, not doing it.
It's an awesome book.
I am liking it much better this time around. I'm a bit of a mood reader. I have to be in the right frame of mind for something. So I think this time is a little bit better. Although I have to say, I can only picture Scrooge McDuck when I'm reading. So in my head, that's the character of Scrooge is Scrooge McDuck. So it's a little entertaining. Everybody else is people.
It's just the one duck.
Just the one duck. Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I'm not sure, why, but...
And the brain is an odd thing.
That's just the picture in my head.
As evidenced by the fact that he's seeing ghosts.
Yes. Yes.
No, I read it, about 10 years ago, roughly, I think was the last time I read the Christmas Carol. And I'm glad we're rereading it because I forgot how good it is. I find it hilarious, partially because I'm not a huge fan of Christmas. I like Christmas as an idea. Mm-hmm. But I find the hypocrisy of it difficult.
Yeah, you're not one to go out and read a lot of Christmas books and
no,
all of that stuff.
I just find it rather annoying when it's like, oh, peace, love, harmony, until after Christmas, and then it's, oh, by the way, I hate you again.
Yeah.
I have that switch is difficult, and it's kind of like, well, I'm jaded and cynical, so, yeah. I like the idea of Christmas, but let's just say I identify with Scrooge a little too much, probably.
But you're not, he was motivated by money.
Yes.
That's not you.
No, not at all.
So
it's more the dislike of Christmas and joy. I shouldn't say joy. The dislike of Christmas and the fact that some people just go, it's Christmas, it's happy, it's blah, blah, blah. But no acknowledgement of it's a temporary change, not a permanent change. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yep. So. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
One of my favorite lines was, Scrooge was as solitary as an oyster. I found that
there's some
quite interesting.
Some of his writing, like the phrases that he uses, I'm like, where did that come from? Like, I've only read one other book by Dickens, and that was what was it? Great Expectations.
That one I actually haven't read.
That one I think is a little bit of a shorter one than some of his others. So yeah, that's the only other one I've read, and I feel like I've read it twice for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway. So yeah, his writing style is very interesting. His choice of phrasing.
It definitely is. Like, he goes on a bit about Marley was dead as a doornail. I don't know why a doornail. If I had to pick a piece of ironwork, it would be a coffin nail rather than a doornail. But fine, people say doornail, so we're going to go with doornail.
Yes.
It's going, Charles, who hurt you?
Yes. And there's more to the story than I realized also. Like, I know I've seen this as a movie. I think I've seen the Mickey Mouse version.
Have you seen the Muppets version?
Yes, I think I've also seen the Muppets version. But that's, like, wasn't, like, a big part of my past growing up years or whatever. So it's just, there's a lot more there than I realized.
Thing is, because it's such a common story, and there's been, like, a billion adaptations of it, and there's so many, long-running TV shows that kind of have a Christmas Carol themed episode where they put their own twist on it, and it's been done so many times in so many different ways that you sometimes forget the original story and all the stuff that was actually in there.
Yes.
So,
like, I felt like I knew the story, but I was reading it and I was like, I don't know this story at all. And
I don't remember Marley's face on the knocker.
And when the first ghost comes and they go here and then they go here and then they go here, like, they go to all these different places. In my mind, it was one place. Like, they went to one period in time and then came back. But this was like all the Ghost of Christmas Past was like all of his growing up years, basically.
Well, that's the thing. They visited Scrooge as a child and then him as a teen, 20-ish, attending a Christmas party with friends. They covered his broken engagement, where she basically goes, yeah, you're more obsessed with money than with me, so see ya. And then, just to really put the final nail in the coffin, the ghost takes him to see his former fiancée, now happy and surrounded by children and loved ones, just to really hammer the point home that he's a miserable old man, and that could have been his life.
Yep.
Like, that ghost is savage, man.
And it's also interesting how even after the first ghost, it's like he's already starting to realize that it's... So, like, the transformation, you can see that it's happening already.
Well, he says things like, I just thought of something that I should have said to my clerk, or, I'm just wishing that I'd given the boy down the street, a penny or something like that.
Yeah.
So, it's not the grumpy, grumpy, grumpy happy that is sometimes portrayed.
No.
So...
But
I will say, Scrooge is snarky as heck, and it is entertaining me to no end. Like, when his nephew stops by the office, and he's like, Scrooge, you should come to, Christmas dinner, and you'll be happy, and Scrooge is like, good day. Yeah, but you'll have this and this, good day. And his response is just, good day, every time. Just shoot, go, scoot.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I have those days.
I can see how you would identify with him. So, yeah.
Like, Ethan, when Marley's ghost shows up, he first goes, how do I know you're a ghost? How do I know you're not just, like, an undigested bit of beef or something? You could be more gravy than ghost.
I know.
He goes on to, what was it? Oh, yeah. Oh, Marley's been dead for 7 years. What took you so long to show up?
Yeah, I know.
It's not just ghost shows up. Oh, yeah, sure, okay. He gives him a bit of snark.
He does. Yeah.
I'm finding very entertaining.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to reading the rest. And I think sometimes I feel like with classics like this, you get bogged down in the language. And I think maybe the first time that's why I just like reading the the way it was written. I just couldn't deal with it at that time. This time I didn't have a problem with it at all. Like, it wasn't...
That's the thing. Like, I read it 10 years ago, and I didn't have a problem with it in language-wise either, because I'm a bit of a weirdo, and
You like this kind of...
I don't mind the language of classics. Like, one of my favorite stories is Robin Hood, but written in, like, medieval English, which is excellent, and I think we should do on the podcast. But, it's not inaccessible. Like,
no.
The way that it's written, some people might have a little bit more of a difficult time getting into it, But honestly, the writing is good enough that, and the story is good enough that you will get into it if you've never read it before.
Yeah. And it might be a bit of a slower read if you're not used to that type of language. But
Thing is, it's quite a short book. Like, it's what, 4 or 5 chapters?
It's 5 chapters. Yeah.
Like,
I think it's
not
less
long.
than 100 pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you think this book is not for you, it definitely is.
Definitely.
And yeah, so don't get bogged down by the idea that the language is weird and
No.
it's not readable.
Like, it's not Shakespeare by any means.
No.
If you can handle a few, doornails and obscure sayings, you're fine.
A crazy old miser.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. If you like the feel-good Christmas story, this is for you.
Yeah.
If you like the crabby Christmas story, this is for you.
It's something
If
for
you're one of those
everybody.
weird in-between people, I can't help you, but you'll probably like it anyway.
But yes, definitely something for everybody in this one, hey?
No, I'm looking forward to the movie.
Yes.
Seeing what Jim Carrey does. Because, not gonna lie, when I was reading first part where Scrooge is quite snarky, I'm going, oh, Jim Carrey could knock this out of the park.
Oh, absolutely he could.
Like,
Yep.
the Series of Unfortunate Events, the movie
Okay.
that he did, quite a similar character in some
Okay.
ways. Heavy on the sarcasm. I'm like, yeah, you could do this.
Okay.
So, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I think he can definitely do a good job. So I'm looking forward to seeing it also.
It will definitely be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I forgot about the second half of the book.
Yeah.
Because right now we're only up to the end of the end of the first ghost.
Yeah.
So he's talked to Marley. He's gone through his childhood. We haven't gone through Christmas past or Christmas present or Christmas future yet. So
Yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing what I've missed out of that.
Yes.
Random question to end off on. There's been many Christmas Carol adaptations or inspired stories, movies, TV shows since it came out in 1843. What's your favorite?
I don't know if I really have a favorite.
The person that did the foreword, I forget his name off the top of my head. His was a Muppets Christmas Carol.
Ah, okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a Muppets Christmas Carol. My favorite is a Doctor Who episode.
I think you asked me this yesterday, and I was trying to think of, like, have I seen any... I couldn't think of any, like, TV shows or anything that had featured something like
Really?
this. I probably have. I just can't remember. But, like, I don't know. So the one that sticks out the most in my head is the Mickey Mouse one.
Okay.
Because
It's not Ghost of Girlfriend's Past.
I was thinking of that before. That movie is not great.
It's terrible.
It's not great. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know this story as well as I thought I did. I just feel like this is the story that everybody knows, right?
That's the thing.
And I just, once I got into it, I was like, oh, nope, I don't know this as much as I thought I did.
Which is why we're reading it. Well, it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's good.
So,
I'm happy to be reading it, actually. So,
well,
do you want to do a little bit of book and author info?
yeah.
So, a little bit of information about the book. It was published on December 19th, 1843, and the first edition sold out by Christmas Eve. And by the end of 1844, 13 editions had been released. Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol during a period when the British were exploring and re-evaluating past Christmas traditions, including carols, and newer customs such as Christmas cards and Christmas trees.
Have you seen some of the old Victorian Christmas cards?
No.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Yeah?
There's some that have, like, dead beetles and stuff on them.
Oh, but
I just-
why?
You'd have to ask the Victorians that. I haven't looked
Okay.
into that too terribly much, but there's a couple with birds who are not alive.
Okay, well, let me hop into my time machine and
Beetles.
see what I can find
just
out.
Random, but they were given as Christmas cards.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's an odd thing. Google it if you're ever interested, because
I-
it's an experience, and it does kind of make me want to give out those Christmas cards to friends and family this year, just to watch the confusion.
You should. That's a good idea. You should totally do that.
I'll add that to
That seems like a Christmas card that one would expect from...
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh, yeah. And so a little bit of info about Charles Dickens. His novels, most of them published in monthly or weekly installments, pioneered the serial publication of narrative fiction, which became the dominant Victorian mode for novel publication. Cliffhanger endings in his serial publications kept readers in suspense. This installment format allowed Dickens to evaluate his audience's reaction, and he often modified his plot and character development based on such feedback, which I found really interesting because it was like, okay, so he writes part of it, sees what the reaction is, writes some more based on that. And so when I was reading this, there was his wife's doctor or some kind of medical professional, had a different name than doctor, but I think it was chiropodist or something. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Anyway, he had written this character, and I think this doctor had said to him, this is like depressing your wife. And so then he changed the character to make her more like kinder or nicer or something. Or like, I think the wife thought the character was based off of her or something like that.
That's interesting considering what he did to his wife in later years.
Care to share?
He tried to have his wife committed to an insane asylum so that he hook up with his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's
a classy move.
Yeah. But, yeah, I just found that's an interesting way of writing. Mm-hmm. Because now when we read his books, we read them, like, we don't read them that way anymore.
No.
So.
Although you can kind of see, like, knowing this going in, it does kind of make sense in the way, like, if you think about it, 5 chapters for a book is not very much.
No.
So, but when you think of it, okay, this is originally published as a serial, that makes sense, because then it's like, okay, yeah, I can see why, like, it kind of ties it up in a little bow, and then we move on to the next one. Ties it up in a little bow, and move on to the next one. Still leaving cliffhangers and stuff like that, but it doesn't read quite the same way as a novel that was published to be read as a completed work.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so that makes me curious to read some of his other works to see if you can tell. I mean, some of his other books are quite large. Like, I have one at home. It's, you guys can't see, but this thick.
Roughly 3 inches.
It's huge. And so I found it, like, I don't know, cheap somewhere, bargain book or something.
Which book?
Little Dorrit.
That one I haven't.
But it's always intimidated me because it's so huge.
So that's an undertaking.
Yes.
You just gotta treat it like a serial. Read one a week, one chapter a week.
I guess so. That's true.
That'd be an interesting experiment.
Yeah. So Dickens was also the most popular novelist of his time and remains one of the best known and most read of English authors. His works have never gone out of print and have been adapted continually for the screen since the invention of cinema, with at least 200 motion pictures and TV adaptations based on his works.
See, out of all of that, you can't pick a favorite adaptation of Christmas Carol.
I cannot.
I feel like I've seen so many of them.
I literally cannot think of any. So tell me something that I might have seen.
Well, we've eliminated A Ghost of Girlfriend's Past. I'm trying to remember.
Well, I've seen that one, but it was not.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall not speak of that one. Trying to remember if Friends did one.
I don't think so. Because I feel like I would remember.
Don't watch the same TV shows.
No, I guess that's true. But I've watched Friends enough to know that I'm pretty sure there isn't.
No. I just got the Holiday Armadillo.
Years and years ago.
Some people call them Maccabees. Any other fun facts or comments before we start reading part 2 and watch a presumably quite entertaining Jim Carrey movie?
No, I think that's all I have to say right now.
Okay. Well, I'll be doing some research into Victorian Christmas cards and seeing if I can find some weird ones to send you.
Yes, please do. I'll hang them on my wall.
There we go.
Freak out my kids.
Would be entertaining. That's what Christmas is really all about.
Yes.
Otherwise we wouldn't tell them that an old man comes down a chimney in the middle of the night.
Yes.
So.
Some reason that doesn't seem to bother kids. I don't know why,
but... Which is weird. They're very trusting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
On that
Christmas
note.
And to all the good nights.
And we're back with part 2 of A Christmas Carol. So, Jess, what are your thoughts?
I like the first half better. The second half isn't bad, but I did like the first half better. He was snarkier.
Well, it's because he's starting to change in the second half.
That's just what I do. I like the Grinch better when he's crabby, too. Oh, yeah. No, it was good.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things where I'm like, I don't remember it being quite so trippy. Like the Ghost of Christmas Present, where he's, like, sitting on a throne surrounded by food.
Yes.
Like, I don't remember that.
The book I have has a pretty epic picture of the Ghost of Christmas Present. Let me see if I can find it for you. He's like a big swarthy dude with chest hair. His robe is open to his navel.
Yeah, he's very much the...
His hand is foisted high in the air. Yeah, surrounded by food.
It's an interesting image.
And then Scrooge standing beside him looks like a feeble old man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was reading, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot that Christmas Present is literally only alive for a day because it's present.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting. And I don't know. I just didn't remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last chapter, the third ghost, I guess. It was interesting. Having watched the movie, I kind of want to go back and reread the last ghost chapter. Because when I was watching the movie, the entire time with the third ghost, I'm going, I don't remember this from the book. And I literally finished the book like an hour before.
Yeah, I think I did too. Now, admittedly, I fell asleep during the movie. I did not enjoy it at all. I only fell asleep towards the end, so probably the third ghost was the one that I missed. And I was like, you know what? It's not worth it to me to go back and rewatch. I'm sorry. However,
what a glowing review.
I did not love the
I was disappointed by the fact it wasn't live action. I didn't look into it at all. I'm notorious for not doing proper research on that kind of thing. I just dive right into books, movies. I'm like, I don't read the back. I just like, let's see what this is. Surprise me. But I watched it and going, you put Jim Carrey in a Christmas movie and then you decided to animate it? Mm-hmm. What are you thinking? It's Jim Carrey. And I know they did like the motion capture thing and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But like, just do live action.
Yeah.
It would have been funnier. Not that Christmas Carol is supposed to be funny, but like...
I was gonna say, it. Would we call this funny? I'm not sure.
It is... Funny is not the word I would use. No.
No. I would also not use that word.
It has some mildly humorous bits.
Okay.
But I don't think I would call it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I found about the movie was it was very dark. Mm-hmm. And I hate watching movies when they're dark. Boggles my... Like, it drives me batty. Doesn't boggle my mind. It drives me batty.
No, that was one of the things I noticed too. And I was watching it online and I'm going, is this like a terrible version or something where it's just weirdly dark? No. Okay.
And it's like, there's one part where it's like, did it stop? What's happening? Because like my screen looked almost black. And so, yeah, that I didn't care for that either. And also he was like swooshing around in the air a lot.
A lot of swooshing involved, which is presumably why they didn't do it live action. Yeah. Because the amount of swooshing involved.
I know, but I think they could have done with less swooshing.
I think personally. They were a tad swoosh excessive.
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I just... It didn't translate well from the book to the movie. And I'm not sure if all versions of the movie are like that.
How do you mean didn't translate well?
I enjoyed the book, and I thought it was interesting. The movie, to me, was very dull. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. I found... Like, I paid quite close attention to it, because I always analyze movies as to how close they are to the books. Mm-hmm. And to be fair to the movie, it was with the few notable exceptions, it was pretty much a shot-for-shot, scene-by-scene, line-for-line, like, original dialogue. Yeah. It is accurate to the book, with the exception of the few things stand out glaringly. But sometimes the great books don't translate to great movies. And I don't know if that's because of their interpretation, because they stayed so faithful to it, but without really looking into the intent behind it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think that it would have been better if it had been live action, not animated.
Yeah, maybe that was the thing. I don't really know what it was. I just was like, this is really dull.
You miss a lot of the nuance with anime. And it's not, lions, jungles, and goodness knows what, where you can throw in a warthog, it'll be fine.
No, it's actual people.
Exactly. And it doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah. So, but aside from that, I did enjoy the book. I think there was a few phrases while I was reading the second half. I was like, really?
There was some interesting phrasing, yeah.
Yes, but...
No. There were a few times during the movie where I'm like, you put the scene in specifically so that you had something for the trailer and for the DVD cover and posters. That's the only reason it's in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I just like movies that do that, or like all the best parts are the parts that you see in the trailer.
Yeah, and you can basically just watch the trailer and you're totally fine. But like the cover where he's like hanging onto the hat thing and zooming through the air. I don't remember that part from the book.
I remember him asking about the hat. But
He asked if you could put the hat back on because it was too bright. But for the Ghost of Christmas Past, they also missed a scene in the movie. Because after the scene where the fiancé breaks up with Scrooge, there's also the scene of her happy with grandkids and basically like, look how great my life is without you. They didn't have that in the movie. Instead, he put the hat on the ghost and then zoomed through the air.
Yeah. Again, the unnecessary zoomy swooshiness. I just felt like, I don't know, I didn't get the sense that he was zooming through the air in the book like he was in the movie.
No, like once or twice maybe, but not this continuous, I can fly so I will.
Yes.
And what did you think of the chase scene?
The chase?
You may have been asleep for that part.
Like, what chase scene? What was the chase scene?
The third ghost is the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah.
Who is basically a black shadow. I want to go back and double check. But there is a hearse pulled by black horses with glowing red eyes, and they chase Scrooge around London as he slowly gets smaller and shrinks.
Oh, I was like only half awake for that part. So I don't know that I can speak to that too much. That part's not in the book though, is it?
That part is not in the book.
No.
And it went on for a gratuitously long time. To the point where I'm going, is this just the entire trailer that they just dropped in and went, well, we put it in the trailer so we had to put it in the movie too. Like, and there was no point. Like,
yeah.
It was completely and totally unnecessary.
Yes. I can't speak to I do remember him being small and having like a chipmunk voice. But that's all I remember of that part.
It sort of felt like they changed directors after the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Oh.
And just kind of went, okay, we're losing people now. We gotta, spice it up and do something.
We gotta get some action back in it?
Pretty much, yeah. Like,
okay, it does say here, shrouded in a deep black garment.
Yeah, but this was like a shadow.
Okay.
So, and then of course Scrooge falls into his own grave and then just keeps falling until he wakes up. Which...
That's not...
was also not in the book.
No.
But that I don't totally mind.
Yeah.
Because it is waking up from a dream, essentially.
You have to have, like... You do have to take some creative licensing. Adapting a book to the screen, but...
But I'd argue it's not a chase scene with a horse and a hearse.
A horse with glowing eyes.
I would say that is... If it was just short, I wouldn't have been so annoyed by it. But it went on for a while. Like, there's like a solid 2 or 3 minutes of this.
Oh boy.
It's like, seriously?
And what was the point of it, though? Like...
I don't entirely know.
Like, if you don't change your ways, we're gonna get you?
Well, presumably the symbolism one is being chased by death. And it chases him to like a graveyard? Or it chases him around, the ghost sees him. Or the Ghost of Christmas Future season, and then takes him to... Like, the entire scene could have been cut out of it. But
maybe they just needed some filler.
I wouldn't be surprised. It was an experience.
Yes.
I'm glad I watched it.
Well...
But it's not making the Christmas list.
It's not one of those ones you're going to watch ever. I will say this. One of my kids did sit down beside me and started watching, and they left. So...
Yeah, I get that.
They weren't into it either.
It's not a great animated film. Like, it is... I found it interesting because I was comparing it directly to the book. I honestly don't think I would have found it that interesting if it hadn't been for the book. Like... And
I was like, I already read this book. This
is word for word.
Yeah, which is fine, but to me, it just didn't grab me.
They missed the nuance. They missed the spirit of Christmas. Yeah. Although, I will say, my word is the Ghost of Christmas Present annoying.
Yes, that is exactly what I thought
laughing.
Too. I know. I was like, this guy's a psycho.
Stop it. I get that the Ghost of Christmas Present is supposed to be living in the moment, but he's laughing constantly. And I do mean constantly.
And not just like a normal laugh, but like a kind of creepy.
Yeah, like a creepy, like, belly laugh where it's like... Ho, 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 I'm faking it. Like a serial killer Santa kind of thing. I'm like, ho, 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 but like...
Yeah. No,
Ho, 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 I know where you live, and I'm coming down your chimney.
I know. I was like, that guy's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are there kids out there that like this movie, I wonder?
I don't know. I didn't look into reviews or ratings of it. I'm assuming it's not very high.
No.
It is not Jim Carrey's best Christmas work.
Sadly, no. And, like, I honestly couldn't tell that it was his voice.
No.
At all. Like,
Colin Firth, I could tell.
Yes, right away. I was like, yep, there's Colin Firth.
But the thing is, too, like, what I don't understand is they did motion capture to capture Jim Carrey behaving like an old, crazy old man. If there's one thing Jim Carrey can do without the aid of animation, it's act like a crazy old man. Like, have you seen him in a series of unfortunate events?
No.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Next Christmas, we'll do The Grinch.
All 3 versions of The Grinch.
Yes.
Or 4 versions of The Grinch if you're including the book itself.
Then I can watch the Jim Carrey one. My kids don't like that.
What?
They find it too scary.
Oh, I love the Jim Carrey Grinch.
They like the Benedict Cumberbatch one.
I haven't seen that one.
It's pretty good.
I'm a Grinch purist. It's Jim Carrey or bust. I've come to the conclusion I like the crappy parts of Christmas and everything else is, fine.
The Grinch and the Scrooge and the Humbug. Yes.
Anyway, do you have any facts for us?
I do have some fun facts about this book. The phrase Merry Christmas had been around for many years. The earliest known written use was in a letter in 1534. But Dickens' use of the phrase in A Christmas Carol popularized it among the Victorian public. The exclamation "Bah humbug" entered popular use in the English language as a retort to anything sentimental or overly festive.
Oh, my perfect phrase.
Yeah. The name Scrooge became used as a designation for a miser and was added to the Oxford English Dictionary as such in 1982. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
I did find myself wondering during the movie, because there's a couple people that refer to him just as Ebenezer. Does anybody still actually name their kid Ebenezer?
I don't know. I've never met an Ebenezer, so...
Yeah, I
that's
wonder.
a good question. You could Google it, I'm sure.
Maybe amongst, the Amish tradition.
Ebenezer's not an Amish name.
No, but it's more along the lines of look at that. It's an old-timey name.
An old-timey name.
And they do old-timey things. There's my logic.
I'm afraid that logic doesn't track. I'm sorry.
Well, any Amish listening in can tell us.
How many Amish listeners do you think we have?
None. Absolutely 0.
Maybe there's one out there somewhere.
You never know.
Anyways, the novella was adapted for the stage almost immediately. 3 productions opened on February 5th, 1844, and the book was published in 1843, sorry, my bad. So that's only a couple months after that. And one was sanctioned by Dickens and ran for more than 40 nights. By the close of February 1844, 8 rival A Christmas Carol theatrical productions were playing in London. The story has been adapted for film and television more than any of Dickens' other works. In 1901, it was produced as Scrooge, or Marley's Ghost, a silent black and white British film. It was one of the first known adaptations of Dickens' work on film, but it is now largely lost. The story was adapted in 1923 for BBC Radio, and the story has been adapted to other media, including opera, ballet, animation, stage musicals, and a BBC mime production starring Marcel Marceau. So,
it's basically been around in about 1 billion different adaptations since
the beginning, which is pretty wild. I think that's probably never happened with any other book or story.
Although when you were talking about the rival Dickens or rival Christmas Carol plays, I just had the mental image of a rap battle, but 2 competing Christmas Carol productions. That I would be there for. That would be brilliant.
That might be interesting.
That would be just wonderful.
Maybe you can talk one of the local theater groups into...
To a local theater
yes,
groups.
Right. Yes.
Which one of you can do it better?
Let's battle it out.
Pretty might be great. But yeah. So what did you think of the first Dickens that you've read in a while?
Yeah, I liked it much better than I thought I would. Given the fact that I tried reading it several years ago and couldn't get past the first probably 10 pages. I was a little concerned, but no, it's a good story.
That's the thing. The book is good, the story is good.
The movie was a disappointment.
The movie was a disappointment.
But definitely, if you're looking for something a little festive to read, pick this one up.
Festive without being too terribly sappy.
Yes, because a lot of Christmassy reads are quite sappy. This does not have that.
It's difficult sometimes to find the ones that aren't.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not into that, this is your book.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And with that, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Reminder that all of the content here is our personal opinions.
Except for the facts. Facts are facts.
The facts are facts, true. But these are opinions. If you disagree, that's fantastic.
It's your prerogative. Tell us what you think in the comments.
Yes, let us know. So that's our show for this week. Thank you all for listening.
And thank you to our editor, Linda, for editing this into a cohesive mess.
And we'll see you next time.